Let's not lie. Let's be honest from the very beginning. When the Cybertruck first appeared, the entire world reacted with disdain. People everywhere mocked it without hesitation or second thought. Social media exploded with memes and ridicule. YouTubers created videos making fun of it. Technology and automotive journalists wrote articles calling it a guaranteed failure. Car enthusiasts shook their heads in disbelief. Traditional manufacturers laughed. Too sharp. Far too aggressive visually. Too weird. Completely outside the standards we've known for 100 years. Too wrong. Wrong in every aspect you looked at. Nobody wanted to believe this was the future of cars. It looked like a bad science fiction toy. It looked like a joke. It seemed impossible that anyone would actually pay for this. But here's the thing. History has a pattern that repeats itself infinitely throughout the centuries. Everything that changes the world first looks ridiculous. Every revolution begins as a joke. Every true innovation is initially ridiculed. The airplane looked impossible. People said it was defying God's will. Electricity looked useless when gas was so efficient. The computer looked like a giant machine only for mad scientists. The smartphone looked like an unnecessary gadget when you had a real telephone at home. People always fear what they don't understand. The fear of the unknown is stronger than logic. Resistance to change is a fundamental human characteristic. But when change is inevitable, when technology is superior, when the future arrives, nothing can stop it. Nothing can reverse it. The train has already left the tracks. The old world runs on noise. The old world needs noise. It validates itself through noise. Roaring engines. Screaming exhausts. The sound of power that is actually just inefficiency being broadcast to the air around us, polluting not just the planet but also our ears. We've been conditioned to believe that noise means power. That more decibels means better performance. That a silent engine is weak. That the lack of sound means less control. All of this is a lie. It's a lie perpetuated by a century of inefficient technology that can never be silent because its very nature is explosive waste. This one runs on silence. The Cybertruck runs on silence. Pure silence. Confident silence. Silent and powerful efficiency. And silence always wins in the end. Because silence isn't weakness. Silence is confidence. Silence is control. Silence is the future refusing to announce itself in obvious ways. When you drive an electric car for the first time, that absence of sound is disturbing. You're used to noise. You're used to vibrations. You're used to constant feedback from the engine. But very quickly you realize, silence is better. Silence is more tranquil. Silence is more sophisticated. Silence is more honest. Because the car is doing all the work without needing to scream about it. Now let's talk about humiliation. Let's talk about pure, undeniable, complete humiliation. Because the Rimac Nevera didn't come to compete with gasoline cars. It came to end the argument completely. To prove a point so definitively that there's nothing left to debate. To show a truth so clear and obvious that denying it is simply being in denial. For over a century, gasoline cars absolutely dominated the world of speed and acceleration. They had complete monopoly over raw acceleration and pure performance. Loud. Noisy. Violent in their method of operation. Mechanical in every aspect. Brutal in their waste of energy. Every explosion inside the cylinder was a small affront to efficiency. That noise was supposedly meaningful. All that complexity was supposedly necessary. The roaring engine. The gears engaging. The fuel burning in tiny explosions. All that noise was supposed to mean something profound about true power and real performance. We were taught to believe that only naturally aspirated or turbocharged engines could truly accelerate fast. That electric speed was impossible. That physics didn't allow it. That it was a naive environmentalist's dream. All lies. Now this one is different. This one doesn't try to win the system. Doesn't try to play by the same rules of the old game. The Apt era doesn't try to dominate the road like the Cybertruck does. Doesn't try to humiliate traditional cars with brute acceleration like the Nevera. The Apt era breaks the rules completely. It rewrites the entire game. It changes the fundamentals on which all the competition was based. It asks a question that nobody dared ask before. A question so radical, so fundamental, so threatening to the status quo that when you ask it out loud, people recoil. What if you didn't need fuel? What if you didn't need gasoline? What kind of heretical question is that? At all. Not at all. Never. Absolutely never. Not just in short distances, not just as a theoretical option. Ever. Forever. Eternally. A car that never needs fuel is a car that has completely redefined the meaning of mobility. Not even charging stops. Not even pauses to charge. Not even 15 minutes at a Tesla supercharger. Not even an hour at home charging. The Apt era is so efficient that most of its charging happens while you drive on sunny days. The integrated solar panels just pull energy from the air while you move. What if energy was no longer a limiting factor? What if energy itself was infinite? What kind of world would that be? Gasoline won't die screaming. Gasoline won't die screaming. It won't die in a blaze of glory. It won't fight desperately in its last gasp. It will fade. It will simply disappear. Silently. Quietly. Without ceremony. Without drama. Without official announcement of death. Without a funeral. Without formal recognition that an era has ended. Like something the world simply outgrew. Like something the world simply grew beyond. Like a child who outgrows their childhood toys. You don't have a ceremony when you stop wearing diapers. You don't have a funeral service when your body reaches puberty. It just happens. And one day you realize it was necessary and now it's not. The transition won't be violent. There will be no desperate resistance. There will be no last-ditch effort from traditional manufacturers. It will be invisible. It will be so smooth that people will barely notice. One technology will simply become obsolete because something better appeared. Like typewriters didn't disappear because they were banned, they disappeared because computers were so much better for writing. Like coal plants weren't destroyed because someone attacked them, they were shut down because solar and wind energy became cheaper. Like horses didn't disappear because we hated horses, they disappeared because motor cars were superior in almost every way. History doesn't move through battles. It moves through technology that is so obviously superior that adoption is inevitable. And one day, maybe 50 years from now, maybe 100 years, someone will ask a question. Why did people burn liquid just to move? Why did we need explosions to make cars go? Why did we accept all that noise and pollution and dependency? And nobody will have a good answer. And nobody will have a good answer. Because there is no good answer. There is no rational justification for why we burned fuel for a century when better options were available. Some will say, it was necessary at the time. It was the only technology available. But that's not true. The battery was invented in the 18th century. Electric motors have existed since the 19th century. Electric car technology is as old as gasoline cars. We were simply convinced that one was superior when it wasn't. Nobody will even remember why it seemed normal. Nobody will even remember why it seemed normal. Because it was never normal. It was just accepted. We accepted it because we didn't know anything different. Because it was never normal. We just accepted it because we didn't know any other way. Like you accept anything in your childhood, because it's the only world you know, it seems natural, it seems like the way things have always been. But now we know. But the future is here. And there's no going back to pretending the old way was ever acceptable. But now we know. The future is here. And there's no going back to pretending the old way was ever acceptable. You can't unsee the future once you've seen it. You can't unlearn the truth. The future isn't coming. The future isn't coming. It's here. It has already arrived. It's happening right now. More electric cars are being sold every month. Battery costs are falling exponentially. Charging infrastructure is being built everywhere. Predictions about when gasoline cars will become obsolete are constantly being revised to sooner. And it runs on silence. The future runs on silence. Not the silence of defeat, but the silence of confidence. The silence of something so powerful it doesn't need to scream. On efficiency. On efficiency. Every gram of energy being converted to movement, none being wasted on noise and heat and vibration. On freedom. On freedom. Freedom from fuel. Freedom from refueling infrastructure. Freedom from dependency on corporations and governments. On the sun. On the sun. On the same energy source that has powered all life on Earth. On the same energy that can't be monopolized, that can't be controlled, that belongs to everyone equally. The three cars we've discussed represent the three pillars of the future. The Cybertruck represents the end of subservience to old standards. It represents the courage to be radical, to be different, to break the design rules that nobody questioned anymore. The Rimac Nevera represents the complete death of illusion. It represents irrefutable proof that silence is superior to noise, that electric is superior to combustion, that the future is now. The Apt Era represents ultimate freedom. It represents not just leaving the old system, but building a new system that is independent, self-sufficient, and powered by the most abundant energy source on Earth. Together, these cars don't just represent improvements in transportation. They represent a revolution that reaches every aspect of how we live. If energy becomes free, if mobility becomes free, if we're liberated from dependence on fuel, what else changes? What kind of world do we build when energy is no longer a limitation? That is the true question. And the answer is just beginning to be revealed. The future is not something we're waiting for. It's something we're living right now. And it's silent, efficient, and free. Welcome to the future. Welcome to the post-fuel world. Welcome to the death of tradition.